What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Moth. If you're rocking with this content, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But today, I'm gonna hit y'all with my thoughts on this new project from Black Thought and Michels affair entitled Glorious Game. So, Black Thought is this masterful, legendary, and veteran MC. And when we are talking about rappers with raw, technical rapping ability, a strong case can be made for Black Thought to be in the top 5 of all time. And at age 51, he is still inspired and rapping at this high level. Now, last year's Cheat Codes project was one of the best albums of 2022. I go as far as saying it was Black Thought's strongest solo album to date. He is also scheduled to release Streams of Thought Volume 4 at some point this summer. But in the meantime, Black Thought blessed us with this collaborative project with Michels affair entitled Glorious Game. So the production was handled mostly by Leon Michel of Michels affair, which is a modern day soul funk band based out of Brooklyn. They have been making music since the 2000s, but are primarily known in the hip hop world for their Wu-Tang tributes, as well as working with Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. But getting right into Glorious Game, it contains 12 tracks lasting approximately 31 minutes. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The opener, Grateful, is the one and only gritty beat on the project. It's more of a dance hall soul fusion. And Black Thought is painting a bleak picture of survival in the hood with bars like, due to circumstances, there's no more chances. We was raised by wolves, grizzly bears, and panthers. It's wild, yo. I'm surprised we ain't grow antlers. The whole house is effed up like JoJo Dancer. So JoJo Dancer is this semi-autobiographical film on Richard Pryor's life. This shows the wild conditions that he was brought up in, being raised in a brothel. But this was a solid opener. This showed Black Thought's knack for social commentary and street stories. Track 2, Glorious Game, featuring Kirby, is a single that was released a while back, and it does have a soulful, a multi-layered beat with a very vintage quality. On here, Black Thought does a lot of clever braggadocio while also professing his love for the rap game. He states, "All y'all chumps, it ain't enough chalk. Y'all thought the name was just thought. Come on, I'm too strong for y'all to cut short." So overall, it's a cool single. It didn't blow me away, but we are getting that slick, boastful talk from Tariq over smooth production. Now, track 3 is I'm Still Somehow, and it has an ultra mellow, tranquil backdrop. The soul vocals are dreamy, and the percussion is minimal, and Black Thought is even using the slower flow. There are some deep, socially conscious bars like, they say black joy is a rebellion, a happy black boy's like an alien. I see what ain't fail, yet it's failing, so we adapt, that of a chameleon. And at the end he adds, this is not a groove you could dance to, which sums it up best, as it's a softer thinking man's record, not something to get turned up and dance to. Track 4, Holloway, has a 2-part instrumental. The first is on the drearier side with the psychedelic guitar, while the second has a punchier drum presence. There's more urgency to Black Thought's vocals on here. He's penning this vivid portrait of hard times in the city and the conditions that can breed violence. Yes, there's even some gun talk from Black Thought, and I think folks would actually be surprised how often Black Thought talks street on his records. But it's never in a glamorizing way. It's always more from the perspective of a street news reporter, a narrator, or a poet. So instrumentally, I did like track 4 as it added some variety to the production. Next is Protocol, which has a sultry and sleek instrumental. Black Thought is flexing his lyrical dexterity. I loved his delivery in the bars throughout, and I thought the instrumental was solid, but the hook was just a little too watered down for my taste. After this is The Weather, which I view as one of the standouts from the project. I dug the pensive soul production, which was ideal for his reminiscence, as Black Thought was really painting a movie-like picture of coming up in South Philly around the time of his introduction to hip-hop. I really love his rich, detailed imagery on bars like, sometimes the weather takes me back to the days of crazy summers with Aunt Blanche telling me to run and play the numbers. I'm trying to make it to the park to satisfy my hunger for the DJ cutting up Let's Dance or Funky Drummer. So it makes you feel like you were there in the late 70s on a warm summer night at a Philly park jam. Following this is That Girl, where Black Thought honors his wife, Michels, for holding him down all this time. It's a sensual, soulful groove that does give me somewhat of a RZA vibe, or at least it sounds like the type of 1960s soul that RZA would have sampled. Track 8, I Never Would, is another highlight where we get some social commentary from Black Thought, who's gliding over this laid-back, alluring beat. He tackles themes of racism and inequality with lines like, when police break laws, knocking hinges off the doors, and the only explanation you've received is just because we repress it, then express it selectively through bars. Just fire, thoughtful lyricism. But the track is also about embracing who you are and where you come from, about staying true and never turning your back on the place that raised you. Track 9 alone has a funky drum riff and some keys, and Black Thought speaks on feeling alone, but also urging folks to be careful of the company you keep. And one of the standout bars was, and if you can't see the poetry, you are the poem. And overall, this sentiment to this record did take me back to the Roots' track, Walk Alone, on How I Got Over. Track 10 is Miracle, which has more somber guitars, a jazzy horn. It's another vintage soundscape. Black Thought can be found reminiscing some more, reflecting on the days when things were a little more innocent and the human connection was much stronger. The second to last track is Glorious Game Reprise, which contains only the chorus to the original, but with more of a modern funk twist. Then the project wraps up with Alter Ego, and it's a record that I would say is one of the highlights. On this one, Black Thought is really giving us some honest introspection, speaking on his sins, his foolish pride, getting old, and telling his alter ego to kick rocks. And it's done over smoothed out synthesizers, pensive guitars, and a psychedelic hook from Brainstorm. So overall, gonna give this project a rating of 3.5 mics. Black Thought is lyrically as crisp as always, and I liked how he got a little more personal on this album and continued to dabble more in the social commentary that he did on Cheat Code. As far as the production went, I was kind of on the fence about it. I suppose it was technically good, and it does tap into that soulful vintage aesthetic quite well, but at the same time, some of the instrumentals weren't too interesting. Black Thought was rapping his ass off, no question, but at times the production gave off those mellow coffee shop, gentrified Brooklyn vibes. Sure, there are some good songs on this album, and Black Thought is killing it as expected. But I don't know how much replay value I'd get from this whole thing. My favorite tracks include Grateful, Holloway, The Weather, I Would Never, and Alter Ego. Let me know what you thought about this project in the comment section. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. As always, it's peace and blessings. Black Thought, Glorious Game 1.